a sliver of land on the Mediterranean, yet it commands the world's attention. Every stone here holds a story, every hill a memory. The air is thick with history, prayers, arguments, and ancient echoes. Why does this patch of earth matter so much? The answer is tangled in faith, family, and broken promises. Two peoples, Israelis and Palestinians, struggle over the same home. Their lives are shaped by decisions made centuries ago. To understand, we must peel back the layers and see the human heart of it all. This is a story both epic and deeply personal. Two protagonists, each convinced they are the hero. Their narratives are so powerful, they seem to live in different realities while sharing the same space. The world watches, seeing its own struggles reflected here, over identity, land, and history. So we begin, not with today's politics, but in the deep past, a land known as Canaan, Judea, Palestine. This is where the story starts, with the first footprints in the dust. Let's go back, before headlines, before the 20th century. The land was called Canaan, home to the ancient Israelites. Their holy book tells of a divine promise. This land was theirs. They built kingdoms, temples, and a capital in Jerusalem. But this land was always a crossroads, coveted by empires. Babylonians destroyed the first temple and exiled the Jews. Persians let them return. Greeks brought new culture. Romans ruled with an iron fist. The Romans crushed revolts, destroyed the Second Temple, and scattered the Jewish people, the diaspora. Yet, the memory of Jerusalem endured for centuries. In the 7th century, Islamic caliphates conquered the land, now called Palestine. Jerusalem became holy to Muslims, believed to be where Muhammad ascended to heaven. For centuries, it was part of a vast Islamic empire. Arabic became the language, Muslims the majority. Then came the Ottoman Turks, ruling for 400 years. The land was a quiet backwater, divided into districts. People identified by village, clan, or religion, not as Palestinians or Zionists. But new ideas were brewing in Europe. Nationalism, the right to a homeland. These ideas were about to arrive with explosive force. The land's identity was about to change. The seeds of modern conflict were being sown. The world was on the brink of transformation. The stage was set for a new era, and the struggle for this land was about to intensify. World War I shattered the old order. The Ottoman Empire fell, and Britain took control of Palestine. Britain made conflicting promises, to Jews and to Arabs. Zionism, born from centuries of anti-Semitism, called for a Jewish homeland in Zion. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 backed this dream, but Britain had also promised independence to the Arabs, who were the majority in Palestine. When news of the Balfour Declaration spread, Palestinian Arabs felt betrayed. Jewish immigration increased, building new towns and institutions. Palestinians saw this as a threat to their home and identity. Tensions rose as both communities organized and prepared for confrontation. The British struggled to keep peace, caught between two rising national movements. The Mandate period became a pressure cooker. The conflict was no longer avoidable. The world watched as the land edged toward explosion. The stage was set for a defining clash. By the late 1940s, Britain gave up on Palestine. The UN proposed partition 2 states, one for Jews, one for Arabs. Jerusalem International. Jewish leaders accepted, Arab leaders rejected, seeing it as injustice. As Britain withdrew, violence erupted between Jewish and Arab militias. On May 14, 1948, Israel declared independence. For Jews, it was triumph. For Palestinians, the Nakba, catastrophe. Arab armies invaded, war raged. By 1949, Israel survived and expanded beyond the UN plan. The West Bank and East Jerusalem went to Jordan, Gaza to Egypt. The Palestinian state never materialized. Over 700,000 Palestinians became refugees, their homes lost. One people's independence was another's disaster. The central conflict was born in that moment. Refugee camps dotted the region, hope of return fading. The map and lives were forever changed. The world's attention was fixed on this new reality. The struggle for land and identity had only begun. After 1948, Israel was surrounded by hostile neighbors. Skirmishes and wars followed, but 1967 changed everything. Egypt's Nasser moved troops. Israel struck first. In 6 days, Israel defeated Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Israel captured the Sinai, Gaza, West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Golan Heights. For Israelis, it was euphoria. Jerusalem reunited, biblical lands regained. For Palestinians, it was the start of occupation. Over 1 million now under Israeli military rule. The world debated occupied or disputed territories. For Israelis, new security. For Palestinians, daily control and humiliation. The Six-Day War didn't bring peace, just new dilemmas. Borders, settlements, Jerusalem, refugees. These issues now define the conflict. The occupation became the new reality. Hopes for resolution faded as divisions deepened. The land's fate was more uncertain than ever. The seeds of future unrest were sown. The conflict's core issues were set. After 1967, Israel felt invincible until 1973. On Yom Kippur, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack. Israel was caught off guard, but eventually pushed back and survived. The myth of invincibility was shattered. For Egypt, pride was restored. This led to a historic shift. Egypt's Sadat visited Jerusalem, leading to the Camp David Accords. Israel returned Sinai. Egypt recognized Israel, the first Arab state to do so, but the Palestinian issue remained unresolved. Settlements expanded, frustration grew. In 1987, the First Intifada erupted. Palestinian youths rebelled with stones, strikes, and civil disobedience. The world saw teenagers with slingshots facing soldiers with rifles. Palestinians took their struggle into their own hands. The conflict's image changed, no longer just armies, but people demanding a state. The occupation's cost was now visible to the world. The old order was breaking down. The call for Palestinian self-determination grew louder. The struggle was now on the streets. The world could no longer look away. The conflict had entered a new phase. The hope for peace seemed both closer and more elusive. The stakes had never been higher. The Intifada forced both sides to the table. Secret talks in Norway led to the Oslo Accords. In 1993, Rabin and Arafat shook hands on the White House lawn, a moment of hope. The planned Palestinian self-rule in parts of the West Bank and Gaza, with final issues to be negotiated. Optimism surged. Israeli troops withdrew from major Palestinian cities, but extremists on both sides tried to sabotage peace. Suicide bombings by Palestinian groups shook Israeli confidence. In 1995, Rabin was assassinated by an Israeli extremist. The peace process faltered, trust collapsed. More settlements were built, deadlines passed unmet. A final attempt at Camp David in 2000 failed. Each side blamed the other. The hope of the 1990s dissolved into mistrust. The dream of two states faded. The conflict was poised for another explosion. The world's optimism turned to despair. The cycle of violence resumed. The failed peace talks led to the Second Intifada, deadlier than the first. Suicide bombings and military reprisals left thousands dead, hope shattered. Israel built a barrier, claiming security. Palestinians saw it as a land grab. The wall cut deep into the West Bank, dividing communities and lives. In 2005, Israel withdrew from Gaza, hoping for peace. Instead, Hamas seized control, splitting Palestinians between Gaza and the West Bank. Israel and Egypt imposed a blockade on Gaza. Wars between Israel and Hamas brought destruction and loss. The dream of a Palestinian state seemed more distant than ever. The conflict became more fragmented, more desperate. Political divisions deepened the crisis. The world watched as hope faded. The land's future grew more uncertain. The cycle of violence continued. The struggle for peace remained elusive. Today, the conflict feels stuck. The two-state solution is talked about, but seems less likely than ever. Over 700,000 Israeli settlers live in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The land for a Palestinian state is fragmented, riddled with settlements. Young Israelis grow up with walls and military service. For them, occupation means security. Young Palestinians grow up with checkpoints and restrictions. For them, occupation means humiliation. Both sides are trapped in inherited stories. The world still watches, seeing universal questions: justice, security, identity. Borders are disputed, Jerusalem is claimed by both. Settlements expand, refugees dream of return. Periodic violence erupts, and the world holds its breath. There are no easy answers. The conflict is shaped by ancient beliefs and modern decisions. Pain runs deep on both sides. The past is never past here. Every day echoes with history. Understanding history doesn't solve the conflict, but it's where we must start. This small land continues to command the world's attention. The story and the struggle goes on.